If your Airbnb units feel like a lot of work and are not as profitable as you thought they are, adding more units will be just adding more problems to your list. If I can give you now one specific example of someone I know, also Airbnb host, and he also used to have 10 properties here throughout Kenya, 5 in Nairobi, 5 on Mombasa in the coast of Kenya. And now when I called them now recently, they scaled back down from 10 units to 4 units because they were overwhelmed and the units were not running profitably. And the problem is they scale too fast. So if you scale too fast, you invest into more units, you think this will solve your problems and will make you more money. I think this is a wrong way of thinking, because first we need to understand how this business actually could be profitable. How can we stabilize and increase our occupancy rates, our profit per units, our guest experience, and get a lot of 5-star reviews first, to then go ahead and scale to the next units. Because once you understand it once, and maybe even if you already have 1, 2, 3, 10 units and you have the same issue now, I think before you add more units, it's time to fix your existing units first before you then think about scaling and growing this business more and more. And I just want to prevent you from making the same mistake, because I saw this over and over again from hosts that had the same issues, that just grew faster than they were trying to optimize and were thinking about this unit they have and making this profitable. So therefore I just want to give you my view on this and what you could do first to fix these units to then start scaling your property more sustainably. First thing to think about here is that just more units will just produce more of what you already have. Yeah? If you don't have systems, you will just produce more work for you because you're working inefficiently. If you're getting now not the best reviews you get at the second unit, you will get more bad reviews. If you're making barely any profit with this unit and you're not getting bookings, I don't think that the next unit will change this and you will get and face the same problems and challenges. And just to put this again into perspective, I was working with another host and he also is operating in Zanzibar. He started his first unit, and without actually optimizing this one unit or making this one really profitable and running at a loss, he opened up and invested more money into a second unit, where he then in the beginning was profitable, but after a while he was not getting any bookings anymore. He was running dry, also running negative numbers, and again bought the plot in Zanzibar, started to invest into the next construction project there to also run this as a short-term rental business, what then leads him to close the very first unit he got, even when with a couple of tweaks he could have made this also profitable, and the same issue. So you see, he was doing the same mistake over and over again. He just thought, I add another unit, I built my own unit now this time, so I have less cost, but you don't understand this business model properly and you will run into the same mistakes. You will not get bookings, your customers will be very unhappy, and in the end of the day you might have just to close down his business, sell the units, whatever it is. So what we did then in this case was just optimizing his listings first. So without even any extra investments into his property, that after he closed down the first one, we worked on the second one. After doing any investments or changes in the property itself, even when they also could lead to an increased average daily rate, to increased occupancy rate, we just thought of, instead of investing more and losing more money, spending more money on things, we just work what we have, we optimize the listing. After optimizing the listing, I would say in the first 7 months of the year, he got like 14 bookings for the entire year. And after us working together, I think for 3 weeks, we already hit that number and we got another 14 bookings within only a span of 3 weeks. And now he's almost fully booked since we have been working together for the last 5 months. This is just by simply tweaking the listing first, understanding what is important for the guests. Is the images, it's the way you make it feel, it's like who are you targeting specifically for? The pricing needs to be right. You know, like, and how do you figure this out? You need to look at competition. You need to understand who is doing what, who is in my immediate area, who is my competition, and are they getting bookings? If so, what is the problem with myself? Is this my listing? Is this because they have more amenities? Is this because they have a pool and I don't have a pool? And then maybe I need to fix my pricing because I'm not attracting the same kind of traveler as they are. So there's so many different factors we need to understand first. Airbnb or short-term rental business is not like a hands-off business. It's a real business that you need to run. You need to learn more. You need to understand marketing. Like, where do you get your customers from? You need to understand the financials. You need to understand the markets itself. You need to understand your competition, what else you could do. You know, you always need to keep up with it. It's not something you just set up once, you leave it and then just complain that the business is not working for you. So, and then just to give you also the numbers for it, you know, like one well-run unit, let's take his example again. His unit was running dry for the last 4 months. Yeah, in this whole, I think 4 months, he was maybe had a revenue of like less than $500 for 4 months, so less than $100 a month, and his costs were of course higher, so he was running into the negatives. After we started working together immediately, like now the same units there were producing it, like 4 units of one compound was producing at least $500 to $800 to $1,000 per house that is there. And then you see the difference, you know, because now from running negative to just improving and optimizing his units there and almost tripling his profits and revenue after working, I don't know, like for the first 3 months or something together, he has much more confidence to invest also his money into the next property. So even if you just have 1 unit now or 2 units and they make very little profit now, if you tweak these ones first and maybe can achieve a 1,000, depending on what kind of quality, what kind of traveler you're attracting, $1,000 in profit for this one property, it's much better than just trying to scale and have like 3 units that maybe bring you $200-300 a month or something. You have less stress, you have more time to implement extra systems, you have more time to give your guests a better experience, and then to scale sustainably to also then attract more higher paying clients. Because for me in this instance, also important to then grow with what you do instead of always going with like small budget or whatever stage you're in, you know, because there's properties we're working with as well. They charge $200, $300, $400, $500 a night, and this is such a huge difference because you can have this one property that's maybe more luxurious, and this makes more profit than your 20 smaller units that you can have, just because you're trying to target a different person. Let me just give you my growth rule that I have, because I also work with many different businesses before. I used to have a marketing business, I consulted businesses from all over the world, and now we've been in short-term rentals for a long time as well. I would say the first thing you need to do is, before you add another unit, get occupancy to be stable. So get consistent bookings, you know, also understand the pricing, because you will not charge, let's say $100 throughout the entire year. Sometimes you go maybe below like $70, $80, $65, depending on what it is. But also in the higher season, you can go up and charge more to average this out and even increase your profits and your daily rate over the entire year. So you need to understand this one first. Understand these pricing systems. If you know how to get your occupancy quite high to a decent level that is quite stable for you, that you don't have to struggle every single month and know what's going on tomorrow or the next month and the month afterwards, this is the first thing that should be ticked off before adding another unit. The second thing here is you should also get good reviews on a consistent basis. So now when you are able to fill your units on a consistent basis, you also then need to get good reviews on a consistent basis. So imagine you are able to fill up your calendar quite decent with like 70%, 80% occupancy rate, but now your reviews are like 4 stars, 3 stars, sometimes 5 stars. You will not win in the long run, because if you get bad reviews in the long run, your property will also not be shown as much on the Airbnb platform or on other shorter rental platforms. Your guests are not as happy, so they might also not return to your property. So you just miss out on this compound effect of getting new customers, them returning, them bringing new customers, them being your strongest referrals, and therefore you need to also work on getting consistent good reviews. And this is just by taking care of your guests. Really give them everything they want. Like, think for them and don't wait for them to ask you questions. Like, give them everything that they need, basically. You know, there's one nice example that one of my old mentors taught me as well. Very different context, was in the tech space, but was like, he taught me consumers are like little babies with like sticky fingers. You need to wipe their mouths. You need to know what they want. And this is what you need to do also, especially because it's hospitality. People want to feel welcomed and cared for, and this just the only way you can really create a good experience, what then leads to better reviews and more revenue and a higher occupancy rate as well. The last thing for this groove role is, I would say, you also need to have stable standard operational procedures. For example, now if you're taking care of your 1, 2, 3, 10 units, whatever, and you do it all yourself, and maybe you have a cleaning team, but it's always a bit chaotic, you should put in place, for example, a guest checks out and on Monday at 10 a.m. What happens when the guest checks out? What does the cleaner need to do first? What are the extra steps? They clean, they also maybe inform you, they get the property ready for the next check-in right away. What are these small little details that they need to do always? Or what happens when a guest leaves something in the apartment, they forget something? Does the cleaner need to call you first, or do you have a standard operational procedure? So things that occur every single time, that you can just replicate these things for the next property you will add. So you save yourself first of time with this, you make life easier, and you can train your people much better because they don't need to think of their own solutions all the time. Of course, you need to train them also in case something happens that is not the norm, that they know what to do or how to handle it, or they just call you, no problem. But once you have at least a standardized things that happen all the time, when a guest checks in, when a guest checks out, during the stay, how many times the cleaner come, whatever, all these little nuances that are part of it as well. Once you have figured them out and they are working without you being involved too much anymore in this unit that you have right now, then you can go on and like tick off all these 3 boxes and say like, okay, now I think I'm ready for the next property, because now I know what I need to do to consistently be performing well and accommodate my guests to the highest standard possible. And if you need help to fix your systems and your operational procedures, you want a higher occupancy rate, you want better reviews, you want all of this for your Airbnb units here on the African continent, this is exactly what we have made and created Homebase Africa for. It's a community of hosts that are operating on the African continent, supporting each other, sharing value. We have weekly live calls where we also rip apart your systems and help you to improve everything that we just talked about. And if this sounds like you, then click the link down below in the description. And for the first 25 people that join before December 31st, we also give away a one-on-one 1-hour strategy call with me and my business partner, who's also in the short-term rental space for the last 6 years here on the African continent. And therefore, I would be happy to see you there. Link is down below in the description. And I hope I can give you value anyways, even if you don't join, and I'll see you in the next video.